How good are Pokemon's Teal Mask legendary trio? The loyal three consisting of Okidogi, Munkidori, and Fezandipiti are Pokemon's brand new legendary trio. Legendary Pokemon trios like the Lake Trio or the original Kantonion birds are a trio of Pokemon with high base stats, and all of them share a common type. With the loyal trio, all three of them share the common type of poison and have the unique ability of Toxic Chain. Toxic Chain is an ability similar to Poison Touch, except it has the chance to badly poison the target. In addition, it works with all the moves and not just relying on the user to make contact. Now, this ability is great and honestly a very good ability that has the potential to change the tide of any match. The first member of the group we will talk about is Okidogi, my personal design favorite. Okidogi is a poison and fighting type Pokemon similar to Sneasler, like literally. It's just a more bulky version of Sneasler in my opinion, with a better ability, however with a far worse speed, and that is already very problematic. But let's go over the other important things before we make a quick judgment on it. It's got the hidden ability of Guard Dog, which protects against Intimidate and being switched out, which in all honesty is actually a very good ability, although I still think Toxic Chain might be just a tad bit better. Now, where Okidogi and Sneasler are separated is in their move pool, and my god, this legendary beast actually has a pretty deep move pool to choose from Ice Punch to Knockoff to Poison Jab, Crunch, Drain Punch, etc. It's got it all, and that is a huge plus side. Knockoff is a very rare commodity these days where not many Pokemon are able to access it, and having those types of coverage moves to hold it up, potentially threatening Pokemon like Goldango, Dragon Ball, etc. is actually a huge plus. Okidogi's typing of poison and fighting has a total of 5 weaknesses, with in my opinion Psychic and Ground being the most prominent one standing out. Psychic is 4 times effective against it, and Ground is a relatively common type with Pokemon like Great Tusk roaming the tier, which in all honesty, if you think about it, is a pretty manageable since it has a bulk splits of 88, 115, 86, which are all relatively high for an offensive Pokemon like Okidogi. I can see this Pokemon being round in a couple similar ways. A bulky set, max HP and attack with Bulk Up, Drain Punch, or Close Combat, Poison Jab, and Knockoff could work relatively to its advantage. Additionally, depending on your team's needs, Knockoff can be interchangeable with one of the punches or high horsepower, whichever the case may be. Okidogi also can be ran in a choice scarf fashion to ensure place on the hyper aggressive teams and stay in pace. A set like Poison Jab, Knockoff, Close Combat, and high horsepower seems like a good option. The one thing with Okidogi I really like is its ability to be interchangeable in team design. It can be ran as a slow, methodical Pokemon, but when needed on a hyper offense, it can switch gears and be a choice scarfer. While yes, on paper compared to Sneasler, it seems like the worst poison and fighting type option, I think it actually offers a lot more than people are giving credit for. It can run both the bulky and scarf variants and still has a way to recover HP through Drain Punch. Furthermore, its abilities are both fairly solid and you really can't go wrong with either or. I know it's slow in speed, while other Pokemon like Tusk doesn't have the greatest speed in the world, and it's still fairly dominant because of the move pool and versatility with how it can fit with other teams. Okidogi of course isn't like Tusk, but I can see how it can be designed in a similar fashion. It will be interesting to see how far this Pokemon will go in the Generation 9 competitive singles metagame. Next up, we got Munkidori, and initially, I won't lie, I thought this was the most bizarre Pokemon design ever. It looks like Flat Stanley and Monkey had a baby together, but anyways, I digress. Before we keep talking about Munkidori and Fezendipiti later on, I would like to ask you guys, if you guys haven't already, to subscribe for more Pokemon content just like this. Many of you guys who are watching right now are not actually subscribed, so if you guys are enjoying the content, it would really mean a lot. It's free and really just helps me know that you guys want to see more of this. I have more videos going in depth about the DLC and more competitive play in the Generation 9 OU metagame, so feel free to join along. Anyways, back to the video. Out of the three though, this is definitely the design as the most aggressive offensive imposing Pokemon with a huge 130 special attacking stat and a 106 speed, which is slightly faster than Garchomp but slower than Walking Wake or Ogerpon. This Pokemon is a poison and psychic typing with its hidden ability being Frisk. Heads up, don't ever use Frisk on this Pokemon. Toxic Chain is just way superior in every which way, except unless y'all play doubles, perhaps it might be useful there, but anyways, I don't know. It's semi-bulky on the special side, but the physical defense is huge exploit on its side. In terms of move pool, it's alright at best. Its move pool distribution reminds me similar of Sandy Shocks, although not that bad, and what I mean that it has mostly stab moves with some few exceptions like Focus Blast, Shadow Ball, or like Grass Knot. Most of its move pool consists of poison and psychic type moves, which are both immune to Dark and Steel respectively. The move pool is just really lackluster for a Pokemon that has pretty good stat distribution and is supposed to be offensively imposing. Munkidori does have a setup move of Nasty Paw, which is pretty good to boost its offense, but again, 106 speed is just barely above the average speed for Pokemon, so it can be really picked off easily. A set of Life Orb, Nasty Plot, Sludge Bomb, Psychic, or Psyshock, and then Focus Blast is a pretty good set if you wish to run a Nasty Plot set. However, this set also leaves it to be countered not only by faster Pokemon, but also Goldango in and of itself. So if speed is the problem, why don't we make this thing a choice scarfer, right? Choice scarf, Sludge Bomb, Psychic, or Psyshock, Focus Blast, and then Shadow Ball. Like, that's not even a bad set. Well, even this set has its own flaws. One, hazards are going to take a huge toll on this Pokemon and will down its HP very easily, but more importantly, this Pokemon can be easily revenge killed as well with its awful physical defense. Being a poison and psychic typing offers 3 huge weaknesses to Dark, Ground, and Ghost, and things like Shadow Sneak for example, or Sucker Punch from Kingambit are moves that it should desperately like to avoid, as I mentioned earlier with its physical defense. Kingambit is especially one of the biggest counters, most certainly to its choice sets, because it's immune to both of its stabs and can fire back a Sucker Punch. And Nasty Paw sets are completely blocked via Goldango if you run Focus Blast for the common Kingambit. Both Goldango and Kingambit are relatively popular Pokemon in the metagame, so there will be a lose-lose situation somewhere. In addition, you also get other Scarfed users like Hisui and Samurott who love to use Caesar's Edge and is immune to Psychic type moves. Landorus Therian, Meowscarada, Cinderace, etc. All these relatively fast physical attackers who have great punishing moves from Munkidori. Either way you slice it with its Nasty Plot or Choice Scarf sets, its weaknesses and shallow move pool keep it from taking fully advantage of its stat distribution. Poison and Psychic is a very poor type combo given its stats. If it was like 120 speed, honestly might be something worthwhile to run in OU, but with 106 it leaves a lot unwanted. Munkidori will be very reliant to keep its offense going if it wants to avoid Kingambit Sucker Punch and other defensive mishaps it has on its side. Overall, Munkidori, while it has arguably the best stats of the three, its glaring issues is something that cannot go unnoticed. With competition like Iron Moth or any other special attackers, to be honest, in the tier, it most certainly will have a tough argument to be relevant in the OU tier and will probably drop down to the lower tiers the next following months. Alright, enough of this. Surely the last of the trio, Fezandipiti, will be something of a redeeming Pokemon to make up for Munkidori's awful existence, right? Well, no. Actually, this Pokemon is actually holding the least amount of weight, and what makes the trio even more of a joke. Just look at the stats on screen. I don't think I've remembered a legendary Pokemon in the modern games note even not hit 100 in any attacking stat, with its highest being 91 physical attack. It's pretty strange in my opinion. Its hidden ability of Technician, while it sounds good to our ears, its stats and move pool isn't something that helps it out. Now, to be fair, earlier in this generation, we did get a Paradox Pokemon named Screamtail, which is also putrid offensively, but defensively, it was actually really solid and actually had a lot of good utility moves, which is something I'll get with Fezandipiti in a second. Poison and Fairy is actually probably the best typing of the three, and it isn't even all that bad, with ground being the real weakness to watch out for. Its immunities and resistances are something of a positive, so perhaps this is what Pokemon was aiming for when designing this Pokemon. Yet, I'm not even sure if that was even the case. If you take a look at its move pool, this seems very underwhelming, and when it's compared to something like Galarian Weezing, who has a worse stat distribution with the same typing, but a better move pool. I mean, you have things like Toxic, Roost, U-Turn, Moonblast, Sludge Bomb, and Poison Jab, Play Rough, Taunt, which are all moves to work around with. The basic premise in my opinion of Fezandipiti playstyle is a Pokemon meant to fish for Toxics and Toxic Chains with some of its moves and then Roost and switch out. The defensive pivots like Play Rough, Toxic, Roost, and U-Turn with EV Spare on the screen is something alongside Heavy Duty Boots or Leftover is something I can actually see being fairly popularized. I've also seen Beat Up being talked about as another option, as it could allow for much easier proc Toxic with Toxic Chain and hit things like Goldango while avoiding things like Taunt for its Toxic. As for Terra types, Water or Flying seem pretty popular, both of which avoid the common weakness of ground, and while Terra Water helps against Steel type moves like Iron Head from Kingambit, it actually makes it a huge pay for Garganacl and stupid Salt Cure stall type of play. So again, there's a plus and minus with each Terra type, but realistically speaking, it's not as Terra dependent as Munkidori, and I would argue it's the least Terra dependable out of the three. Like, okay, listen, sure, its utility moves are really lackluster for a Pokemon like this, but its incredible stats and pretty good typing are its saving grace. Its defensive profile is something of a huge and something to be liked for, and while it has other bulky Poison and Fairy type Pokemon to compete with like Glowking, Clefable, and Amoonguss, who are arguably better at its job than this thing, I think it still offers something with Toxic Chain Shenanigans to be played around with. It's probably not going to stay in OU because of its move pool and awful offensive stats. However, to be honest, let's face it, this thing was probably geared more for doubles than singles play. If I were to rank these three, in my opinion, Okidogi is definitely the best, and Munkidori is probably the second best because of its offensive stats, and Fezandipiti is probably last because of its poor move pool, although maybe becoming more Terra dependent like Munkidori and limited offensive pool will hurt Munkidori in the long run more than Fezandipiti. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Join the Discord link in the description down below, and thanks to all my members over on YouTube and Patreon for the continual support. If you wish to support me even further, links are down below to join, and comment down below Monkey if you guys have made it this far in the video. With that though, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching as always.